Hey everyone, Aaron Baez here. So this assignment is for EEC3400, I'm going to be discussing Chapter 6 as well as Dr. Todd Risley's video that more or less emphasizes or summarizes everyday experiences of young American children. So again, the purpose of this assignment is to analyze Head Start as a program, as well as dive into their key findings and research and how that relates to early childhood, how that relates to successful early childhood development and family literacy. So based on what I read and watched, what excited me the most was the realization that a difference can be made. Basically that through systematic, consistent, small steps, there are processes that a family, an educator, and even a child can go through that will optimize, autonomy and competence in all levels of development. As likewise, I would say that something I got excited for was how family has so much to do with how a child develops and how well that child develops. For example, the fact that communication, language, and emergent literacy skills within a family have so much to do with how or so much to say on how much that child will succeed later on in kindergarten, first grade, second grade, and or third. So generally taking a positive approach towards learning and improving developmental skills is the focus of Head Start. Additionally, I would say something I felt excited about was how a child's home environment has so much to support their behavior, as well as how well they're able to speak, how well they're able to express themselves, and how they begin to see and explore the world around them. So particularly, I thought that's awesome because it gives us a perimeter from which to work in that, that in a sense is comfortable for a family. That they don't have to go travel miles and miles in order to get the services that their child needs, or that the thought that they're at a disadvantage based on their socioeconomic status. Head Start does a great job at emphasizing how important and how efficacious a family and what a child experiences and learn at home has to do later on with his or her success. So I remember reading that Head Start isn't alone. So there are other programs that work with Head Start in order to meet the same objective, and that objective is child competency. So you have programs like Cradle and the Department of Education and Even Start program, and Head Start itself, which again focus on the relationship with parents and young children in the area of physical development, literacy, English language acquisition, nature and science, and things of that nature. So I believe these programs provide the foundation of support for these families that will later ensure that their child succeeds in school and later on in life. As I scan through what I've learned, I believe that what worries me the most is how Dr. Todd Rinsley from the University of Alaska noted that over a given time, there are families who talk considerably much more than others, and how that sometimes has to do with culture. Unfortunately, that is something that may be much more difficult to change than just the simple act of not knowing that a parent or whoever in the household, must talk to a child or interact with them and engage with them. So as it relates to what can be done, I believe there is ground for something to be done, but yet you have the occasion where you don't want to cross any boundaries that you shouldn't. Again, depending on the culture of a family. But I do believe that it is a responsibility of educators and programs like Head Start and to make it aware to these families that aside from culture, we're talking about the child overall and what he or she needs. It isn't in any way dismissing culture, but again, it's giving what the child needs. You must separate business from culture. So in essence, I believe it's important that it's talked about. Aside from that, I found it worrisome how some families do, as the doctor said, where they talk business, and it's usually either commands or it's order to get something done. How some families do that, and again, how it ties into culture, and how, on the other hand, you have families who talk considerably much more and include business conversation, but also as well fit in time for gossip, chit chat, and just random facts and opinions about anything and everything. So furthermore, I believe what I felt that I needed to find out more of was how early Head Start and Head Start developed their performance measure framework. So they have a pyramid by which they acquire these standards that their programs are then to carry out in order to obtain the pinnacle of childhood competency. So as I remember it, you have at the bottom of the pyramid, you have the family, you have the child, you have the community, and you have the staff, and how they more or less illustrate how each nucleus can contribute then to the pinnacle of the child, which again is competency. But I would like to know more about the mechanism they used and the process by which they were they came to the conclusion that this is how you achieve, this is how you achieve a child competency, and exactly what that means. As it relates to my stance, I believe that parents, again, are an important component in the intervention of a child. So that comes with saying that as much progress that can be made in the classroom, I believe that much more progress can be made at home, where you have children who are exposed to their parents, which they look up to, and I believe they're much more open to learn from them than the educators in the classroom. That's not to say that they're not ethical. It actually may vary by situation or circumstance, but for the most part, based on what I've read, children tend to look for their parents for guidance, for knowledge, and for security more than any other being in existence through their eyes. So again, I believe it's critical that parents support children's language and literacy development through communications, through interactions, through exploring, through play. There's just hundreds of ways you can interact with a child in order to developmentally, better that child in whatever area you feel, or whatever area the child needs. I believe that as well as the stance I take, I believe that in order to achieve all of this, parents must come to parents before children, but parents have to come to the conclusion that they have a reciprocal relationship with your child, meaning whichever behaviors they express, that in effect will influence the child, and vice versa. Whatever behavior that child expresses, in a way affects the parent. So in essence, the objective comes down to coming to the fact that early experiences form the foundation, for a child's development, and that goes, so long in how that child will later on, approach, social situations, interactions, how he or she will relate with a teacher or someone who's much older, and things of that nature. So again, parents need to spend more time with their children in activities that stimulate their specific child's learning, and many ways you can do so is through reading, word games, and just talking. It's like I said in the beginning, they're simple, systematic, yet consistent steps that parents need to take and educators need to take in order to really guarantee the success that they would like to see in their children. Aside from that, I believe that I suggest that the best thing overall educators and parents can do is provide the support that a child is either needs or is looking for. So it's taking the time to really address what is best going to help this child reach their full potential. So, whether it's greater exposure to literature, greater exposure to letters, numbers, through mathematical concepts, through exploring. It's really helpful to be a catalyst for as a parent and as a parent to be that catalyst to really accelerate a child or encourage a child to learn. So again, a supportive environment, and again, this can come through in many ways. And if at home, as a parent, if at home you feel like this is something you can't provide for your child, then there are programs like Head Start and Even Start that can help you and see the success you want to see in your child. So again, this has been my conclusion based on what I've read and watched, and I believe that Head Start has done a good job at analyzing and providing the services that they do for low-income families, as well as I believe they have a good idea and background as to what to focus on during early childhood development. So thank you for watching, and have a great day.